we play radio with Stephen M. Sipple, who also plays radio on 93.7 The Ticket, popular morning show. I listen to it when I'm not on the air here. Also, I listen to him, Sean Callahan, and Robin Washut talk on the podcast for Husker Online. He joins us now. Good morning, Sip.
Sip.
Hey, guys.
Yes.
How are you?
Good.
Good. How are you?
Hey, how are you?
You seem frantic. Are you okay?
I'm walking the dog.
Okay.
And so you're going to hear some birds probably.
That's fine. It adds to the interview. Sip. Ari Wasserman, go.
Yeah, I don't. You know what? I only have a little bit of knowledge about this whole thing. Last night, I was working on a Michigan State preview football, and I was trying to scramble and watch the Knicks and Indiana play. It was a great game. And I didn't have a lot of knowledge of what was going on except for a phone call from Sean, and it didn't sound particularly interesting to me what was going on. Now I've gotten a couple calls this morning I'm going to get to, but I had a show of my own.
Mm-hmm.
I'll get briefed like I'm the president in a little while.
Do you want me to brief you? I can give you a spark note.
Pretend like I'm the president.
Yeah, okay. Things got a little sideways, but you know how this business works, so I'll let Matt fill you in.
So, Mr. President, we had a situation yesterday. A clip that you were involved in was the subject for an article that was written. The article that was written was titled with an improper headline that caused a lot of people to frantically react to it. The subject being Matt Rule, and jokingly telling you that he wanted 40 teams in the college football playoff. But, Mr. President, some people took it as if he was being incredibly seriously. And it led to them actually believing he wanted that to happen. And there was a lot of outrage, not only towards Matt Rule, but towards you and your co-host as well. But the situation has...
Wow, really?
Yes. The situation has been handled. The writer of the article has talked to Matt Rule and has kind of clarified his position on things. And it seems like you are in the clear, but it did get a little contentious for a second.
Yeah, interesting. I will look into this. It's May.
Yes, it is.
It is May. It is Sip. Peak May. Peak May.
Yeah. This just has May written all over it. I mean, I do remember asking Matt. I think the question was 12, 14, or 16 teams. What's best for Nebraska? College football playoff. What's the best number?
Mm-hmm.
And he gave what I regarded as a benign answer. It was benign enough. It was benign enough I never wrote it. So this is what.
Yeah.
Now I think Ari used some quotes from previous interviews too.
Yeah.
Not just the. I think so. Not just the interview we had. But anyway, I don't want to play it down because I think that it did anger the head coach at Nebraska.
Well,
and I know this too. I know this too. Sometimes you can get caught in crossfire.
Well, and I'm pretty sure it angered the head coach at Nebraska because him reaching out to Ari Wasserman, Wasserman this morning has kind of backtracked a little bit. Maybe. So I'm sure that conversation was good for Matt Rule because he's able to clarify his point, but probably was a little bit uncomfortable because, I mean, as much as Rule likes to speak, he is very cognizant about his public perception on being spun the wrong way because that's the last thing he needs to do while he's trying to get the product on the field better is to fight something that is not his own doing. So whatever has happened, they had a conversation last night, and it sounds like there's a little bit of backtracking. But also there's, Sip, you've been in this business long enough. There is the headline that the headline is different from the article, and you don't click on the article. You just read the headline. We read more headlines now than ever. So I'm glad this got taken care of. It should just be a 12-hour story, but somehow around here it will continue for a while, and there are other things to worry about. But it's May.
Well,
it's May.
There's brand, I understand too. There's brand considerations. Nebraska's got a strong brand. So Nebraska has to protect its brand. Matt Rule has to protect his brand, and there's recruiting ramifications. We're heading into June. It's gigantic. It's a gigantic recruiting time, and head coaches are very cognizant of negative press. And I guess what I need to do is read Ari's column. I mean, that's my next.
You're gonna get a lot of the stuff that you and Sean have talked about. Now, you have to watch the video to know that Rule was joking when he was talking about going to 40. It's clear that he is joking with you guys. And by the way, 90 minutes, Sip. That was a long time. But there's, at the end of the day, all of this discussion about Nebraska football, which comes back to, my God, be better on the field. If you're better on the field, there is no gray area. There is no, they're this. They can start talking about results and positive results.
Yeah. I mean, it's like they've been bad. Last year they weren't bad. So I guess there's that. There's always that part of the conversation. I feel like I don't want to. It's kind of hard to defend now. He didn't say anything bad. I just know I just know that the interview he did with us, his response wasn't. I don't think I could judge it as improper in any context.
No, but all right. So it's a good way to close this. You don't need to write a column on it.
You're good.
Let's talk about the part of Nebraska athletics that a lot of people want to talk about. You've been around this for a long time, and you've covered athletes, and you weren't just a football beat guy. You have covered other sports. Have you got any comparison to what Jordy Ball has done for a brand of a sport at Nebraska, like she's done this year? But it seems like in a span of a couple of days in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, has taken it to a whole nother level that I haven't seen in a while.
It's hard. It's a hard comparison because you want to make a comparison to baseball, maybe, but Alex Gordon and Darren Erstett were pitchers. It is pitch and hit. What he's doing is unique to me because when Jordy Ball came into our lives a couple of years ago, I just thought, she's going to be a dominant pitcher. I didn't know she was going to hit 23 home runs and hit 475 and be the best hitter too. I wasn't aware that was even a thought. But lo and behold, she's not only a 25 game winner in the circle, she's on the verge of maybe becoming the first player in NCAA history to win 25 games in the circle and hit 25 home runs. The first player in NCAA history, which would suggest to me you could make an argument that she's the best player in NCAA history. I mean, you could certainly start to begin that argument. So I know it's just hard to make a comparison. If somebody, I mean, would you go back to Erstad with Husker baseball? He didn't turn the program around. I don't know. It's a really hard comp.
Yeah, and with Darren, because both you and I were in Lincoln at the time, they played
of a freakishly good athlete who happens to have a real strong mental capacity. I've heard her compared in that way for people who work with her to Jordan Larson, that she has that sort of strong, she's very strong mentally. And I just don't think you can do it's really hard to do what she's doing without being, you got to have the whole thing. You just can't be a dynamic athlete. You got to have the whole package to do what she's doing. You have to be emotionally strong and mentally strong. And obviously she's gifted athletically.
Steve, it seems like every year in football, there's a player, maybe even a couple of players that kind of come out of nowhere. I feel like last year, Ja'Cory Barney, was a guy that produced, and maybe a lot of people didn't anticipate it. You can go down the list. I think Malcolm Hartzog in his first year would probably be classified as a guy like this. You've been around and covering this team for a while. Do you think there are any common characteristics amongst those types of players that maybe end up coming out of nowhere and having a bigger season than people anticipated? And is there anyone currently on the roster that you kind of see might have those characteristics right now?
I always laugh at these questions because with Nebraska football, who comes out of nowhere?
That's a good point.
They're covered so thoroughly. I don't know. Quinn Clark is a guy I wonder about. That could Keelan Smith. Those are two receivers that now people know them. It seems like. They're not on the tips of everybody's tongue. I do think that after the initial 5 or 6 receivers that we always talk about, there needs to be somebody else. And I think those two guys would be candidates for that. I think those two guys come to mind. But it's hard, Matt, because like I say, people know everybody on that roster.
Yeah.
I guess coming out of nowhere is really hard.
Well, okay, so maybe let me rephrase the question then. Have you in your time in football and covering football have noticed a commonality between players who end up producing way higher than maybe you anticipated?
Well, let me think about this.
Yeah, that's a tough question.
It
like
is.
In the spur of the moment.
It is.
But that's a question like to think about when we go back to next week.
Yeah.
Yeah. Put that on
in the pocket. Put that in the pocket, Sipple. I want to hear your answer.
Some of it has to do with need. I mean, it's just a pure need question. They needed him at a certain position, and that person delivered. I'd have to think about it a little bit.
Hey, you were up here in Omaha at Matt Rule's camp. Matt Rule and Dylan was here. Do you ever get the sense, and good on this kid because he's in the spotlight. Do you ever get the sense that anything rattles Dylan, or that he's ever uneasy?
No, that's a good question. No, I don't. He's really mature for that age. That's the first thing that always comes to mind with him. I don't know how he developed that sort of demeanor, psyche, but he just doesn't. Yeah, you're right. He doesn't seem to get rattled. Raised well, probably. He was raised very well. I know that, and I think it's probably just his makeup, just kind of the way he is. Yeah, he doesn't. I've never seen him get rattled. I really haven't. I think he's probably a little more fiery than he sometimes lets on. If he's anything like his dad, he's a lot more fiery than he lets on. But you don't see it all the time.
No,
I think a lot of it is he understands as a quarterback, he has to comport himself in a certain way. He studies he studies that whole picture. You know, what goes into being a good quarterback. I think a lot of it, some of it for sure, is how you conduct yourself, and he does that really well. Dylan
Raiola obviously has a lot of pressure on him this season to go out and perform. Do you think though, and I don't think it's the same. I don't think it's the same amount of pressure. I'm not saying that, but do you think there might be a comparable amount of pressure on Dayton Raiola to go out and perform this year in high school, considering the fact that there are kind of some of those lingering questions about whether or not he really should be the only 2026 quarterback recruit for Nebraska?
I don't think that he feels it.
Okay.
I just don't. I think those guys like that are so driven that the pressure they feel is internal mostly. I don't think he probably. My guess is he doesn't think of it hardly like in the terms that we do. I don't want to say at all, but not very much. I think that those guys, it's just mostly internal pressure. It's living up to what they think they should be doing. It's going to Jeff Christensen, the quarterback guru, and it's so much. It's such an intensive training, and I think they're thinking about their training, and their mechanics and their mindset. So I don't think that Jet Tamala enters his mind, and what are the guys in Lincoln and Omaha saying on the radio. I doubt it. Now, maybe there's family that think that way,
sure,
that have that in their mind, but I don't know. Those high-level athletes, I don't think they think like us. Most of them, not most of them, especially the younger ones. I don't think like they just. I think Aaron Rodgers probably thinks a little too much like us. He seems like he hears a lot and responds to it, but a lot of guys, I just don't even think they can afford to.
Yeah, that makes sense. All right, what do we got for the kickoff to summer? You got a little beach time. You going out to Capitol Beach, Lenoma? What are you gonna be? What are we doing?
What? Seeger and Suds? Is that what we're doing?
Walking bullet right now. I got to work. It's not like a conventionally stressful time. It gets a little stressful in our business because you really have to dig like Ari Wasserman.
I don't think there was much digging there. I don't know how much digging he was doing.
You got to create some.
Oh, you just pulled back the curtain, my
it's
friend.
May, baby. It's May.
It's May. No, I don't mean it. I don't mean it like that exactly. But you do got to kind of come up with your own interviews sometimes.
Yep.
Where it's not everything's handed to you in a press conference form. You're not just walking over. You're not running over to the stadium to a press conference and then getting 5 days worth of quotes because that's not available. So May and June, you got to do kind of your own. You got to be more creative, and that takes some energy.
All right. Well,
and we don't shut down the site. I always try to tell my family that. They're like, "Hey, you got to take May off." Like, well, how the hell would that happen? Like, there's still a site to have.
Yeah,
and it's been like that.
And
I can remember.
And June in Memorial Stadium is going to be a big month.
Well, June's easier. That's the thing, because June you're over there. There's going to be a lot of commitment. There's going to be a lot of visits, 30 visits or so from recruits. So it's hopping over there, but not right now. It's not.
No. It's people are on vacation. They're recharging so they can get ready for summer conditioning, just like yourself. We appreciate your time. We appreciate you being somebody that keeps things out of the hyperbole world, that speak with context. Okay, and then when it needs be, you slap your fellow employees. I love that about you.
Thanks for being careful, Sipple.
I did not slap anybody. Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Hey, thank you.